Two big stories this week, impeachment and then the fifth Democratic debate. Both aren't necessarily the most dynamic fare, but there was a wall-to-wall coverage of them both regardless.
Indeed. There were some fireworks, though. And joining us now to talk about these stories is editor-in-chief of The Hill, Bob Cusack. He's here with the debrief. Quite a week. I think we're all a little tired.
Unbelievable.
Just being honest.
Yeah. We knew it. We knew it would be tough, and it's been intense and entertaining.
Yes, indeed. Let's start with the debate. What did you think, what, if anything, moved the needle? Because our sort of consensus is, I think Pete's going to continue his rise.
Yes.
I honestly think Warren is going to continue to slide a bit. Mm-hmm. His rise comes at her expense.
Yep.
But overall, Biden's the front runner, and I don't see anything that really changed that last night.
Yeah, I mean, Biden had some Biden moments, but he's still there. Like, we keep saying, oh, is this guy going to go away? He's still there. He's still not. He's not the front runner. He's a front runner. Buttigieg did well. I think he dodged some salvos, and I agree with you. I think the pressure was on Buttigieg, and he performed well.
Yeah, but he didn't get that
much been more pressure on
that's kind of what we were talking about, which is like everyone's like, well, I mean, he didn't really take a lot of fire. He did. Look, he parried very well against Tulsi Gabbard. I'll give him credit for that. He was the only one really out there kind of like being in an aggressive mood, Bob, and I'm really baffled why so many of them don't go after each other more. It's bizarre to me.
It really was. I mean, the first hour or so was quite dull, and it got a little spicy at the end, but overall, the pressure was on Buttigieg, and I agree. I was a little surprised that he wasn't taking more shots for someone who's been moving up. But he's a solid debater. I mean, he just is, and that's why I agree with you that Warren's changing position on Medicare for all. That attracted some negative headlines, and of course Bernie Sanders is jumping on that. But overall, was it a game changer? No.
Well, and he didn't jump on it in the debate.
Yeah, he didn't talk about it in the debate.
Moderators didn't ask about it, and I mean, that floored me. Right here, she's been advocate all the way along.
Bernie.
I'm with Bernie. That was the stock answer, and then she comes out with this new plan. It doesn't look like you're with Bernie. And you face zero questions, and Sanders doesn't press her on it when he's there to her face. No,
and he could have, and I think he will eventually. I really do, because he, it's as he says, it's my damn bill. And overall, Warren is looking a little weak because Bernie's authentic. Everyone knows that. And authenticity works. I mean, Hillary Clinton had a problem with being authentic in 2016. Donald Trump is Donald Trump. You love him or hate him, that's Donald Trump. And now Warren changing her position is kind of like Harris changed her position on Medicare for all. But Warren is still strong. Warren is still there. This is not breaking one way or the other right now.
No, it's not. I don't think so.
It looked very political, Warren's move,
It did look very political. I mean, what were some of your other debate takeaways, Bob?
Look, I think that Booker seemed like he had some good moments. Harris at times, I think going after Gabbard didn't really kind of work, but it hasn't worked for Harris or Booker, and that's the problem. Like sometimes they have good debate moments, but it's not translating into polls, and that's the question: can anyone else get in that top four? Can it become a top 5 or top 6?
Cory Booker has had so much speaking time in these debates,
so many
overwhelming compared to the polling position that he's at, and he doesn't move. And it's like maybe they don't like what you have to say. It's like it really is. He has no differentiation in the field, and he falls flat every time.
Voters are just not connecting with him, at least not yet, and it's getting late in the ballgame.
Because what's he about? I mean, it's all just very sort of vague. It's very sort of conventional, and I don't know that there's anything that has really landed with people about what this guy would do as president.
Right, and if you can't recall what this guy would do as president, that's a problem.
Huge problem.
And he, there's been a lot of gridlock over the last few years, but what has he accomplished in the Senate? I think he's probably best known for testifying against Jeff Sessions to be Attorney General. I mean, overall, I think he's got some obstacles, as does Harris. They've got to capture some momentum very, very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so impeachment as well. So a lot of big developments this week. I mean, Gordon Sondland's testimony ultimately, I think. I mean, that's the big blockbuster. I think ultimately, we were talking about this here on the show. I don't think they even really need whatever witnesses that they had after Sondland. That was pretty much.
They got what they wanted.
They're going to draft articles of impeachment based on that testimony alone.
That's right. I mean, the fact that Sondland said there was a quid pro quo, and that obviously refutes the president. But is it going to change any votes? Is it going to get any Republican votes? I really don't think so. I mean, but it puts Republicans in a tough position because this is someone, remember, who's a Trump mega donor who has a different side of the story than Trump, and Trump has said different things about whether he knows him, how well he knows him, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
suddenly he's never met the guy.
Democrats, I think Schiff has been very sober in this. I know he's taken a lot of heat from Republicans for not being fair, but Schiff has a way of not letting Nunes get under his skin, and I think that's a good thing for Schiff.
Yeah. I think sober is a good word for it. He's conducted himself in a very sort of dignified way. This is a tough moment for Republicans because they decided to go with this defense of there was no quid pro quo.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the line. There was no quid pro quo. Whereas maybe what they should have been arguing from the beginning, because look, everybody knows this president messes around. He doesn't follow the rule. Like, it is not a stretch of the imagination for anyone, including his supporters, that he would be engaged in these kinds of antics overseas with regard to Burisma and Biden, et cetera, et cetera. No surprise. But maybe the defense that Republicans should have had from the beginning is, yeah, this isn't great, but it's not impeachable.
Right.
Why are we doing this to the country? Which is what Democrats went with in the 90s.
Yes, and that is exactly. That's what James Carville said recently. He said, you're going to impeach us for that? Which is a better argument, I think, than going into the details of what, and because their defense has changed.
Yeah,
and that's the problem.
Yeah, I
because
said that here.
Every revelation makes them change. So just say that's a simple one. Come on, Ukraine. Foreign policy. Right. People don't understand it. They don't know where Ukraine is. That's not. We're not going to remove the president of the United States for that, and I think that's a better
for an
defense.
Investigation that never happened,
Right.
for military that was ultimately given.
And yeah, exactly. And this showed up in a Wisconsin poll, a fascinating one, in which Trump moved up in the head-to-heads against Biden and Sanders, definitively beating both. And in that poll, they asked, "Do you believe that the president used foreign aid or tried to use foreign aid in order to politically benefit himself?" Overwhelmingly, people said yes. Who do you support for president? Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So it's like, they're like, yeah, he did it, but they're like, no, it's not something I particularly care about. And we live in a democracy. I mean, that's really what it is all about.
I mean, think about it. Like, we saw him on tape saying that, grab him by the thing, and he still. Do you really think that this military aid in Ukraine thing is going to move more people than that?
Well, and polls have shown that most people, again, think it was wrong. But actually removing the president, that's the leap. And I think Democrats, and you talk to any of the Democrats on Capitol Hill, they thought that at some point it would become bipartisan. Mm-hmm. It has not.
Did they really?
They did. They really thought it would become bipartisan. At least that they could pull off a few. Pull off a Will Hurd.
They
didn't get one.
No, on that vote,
that's embarrassing.
the fact actually there were a couple of Democrats that defected.
Yeah,
to
two
the Republicans.
left the Democratic Party.
That tells you everything you need to know.
And
about
we
where
do
this
have
is
a story
headed.
on the behind the scenes of how they were able to unify. For House Republicans who have had a lot of losses since losing the House, that was a big win. That was a big win, unifying and voting against the impeachment inquiry, all of them. Yeah. That was huge.
Interesting. Got to check out that reporting. Bob?
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
We'll have more for you after this.